Hello, gang. Thank you for tuning in to the Pete Revelle Show. Hi, I am Pete Revelle. I'm the piano player with the Four on the Floor, which is a musical group located here in Wisconsin Rapids. The purpose of this show is to bring you some wonderful music performed by us that will take you back to a time when music was to sing with and to dance to. We do music, that goes back to the big band era and all through the decades, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and more, where, we hope you'll find beloved melodies that give you wonderful memories. Currently, I'm really happy to be playing music with the best musicians in our area. On the bass is Glenn Runnels. On trumpet, we have Kevin Finbrotten. And on drums, we have an extremely talented percussionist who, by the way, is just beginning a career that I truly believe will take him as far as he cares to go. And that's none other than our own Alex Quinella. You'll see from time to time on our show great local talent that comes in and plays music with us, making the musical experience even more enjoyable. We present our show not as a edited production, but let me say just as is. And what I mean by that is we will, for example, play songs we never played before, for better or for worse sometimes. But we do it. And of course, you are a part of us, as if you came into our living room at home, sat around with us, talking, joking a little bit, and just in general, being part of the whole experience. For the first show here, I thought, it would be only fitting if we took it back to the origin of the Four on the Floor. Let's see. We started about 8 years ago when I met Earl Garber at the Cultural Center. Now, Earl is a lifelong brass player, trumpet being his main instrument, and after some conversation, we decided to play some music together. Well, Earl then called two of his old friends. That would be Cecil Livington, a lifelong bass player, and drummer and vocalist Francis Kubicek, known to his friends as Kubi. Within a week, we were playing together at the Cultural Center, located here in downtown Wisconsin Rapids, and this continued on till last year. We lost Kubi a few years back. He had just turned 90, and then in 2017, both Cecil and Earl called it a musical career. At that time, my feeling was that Four on the Floor would be retired. But not long after, Kevin contacted me, and he says, why don't we put together a group to continue playing some of this great American music, and we'll put the four back together again. Glenn was contacted, and he was all for it, playing bass, and through his association with the blues band, he got Alex aboard. Our next project was to come up with a name. Well, we had many in mind, but one day while visiting Earl, that's Earl Garber, of course, he felt it would be nice to keep the name Four on the Floor and just call it Second Generation. Well, that's exactly what we have done. So for my first show, I thought it would be fun to go back and present the original fellas. In looking back over things we recorded over the years, I once more came upon a presentation we did many years ago called The Saga of Four on the Floor. After watching it, I felt it would be very fitting to play before we move on to the second generation of Four on the Floor. Not only will you hear music, but also an introduction by each of the fellas. I know you probably know one or more of the guys, and if not, I am sure you will enjoy meeting them. Oh, yeah. For the fun of it, I wrote the only rap song I will ever write, and it is about the fellas. So please bear in mind, you will hear each of the guys featured on the song, and you will learn about each of them. Finally, relive with me the many afternoons we spent playing music at the Cultural Center here in downtown Wisconsin Rapids. But enough said. Right now, here it is, the saga of Four on the Floor.
Here's the saga of Four on the Floor. Yeah. Come on and meet the members of Four on the Floor. Four guys from Rapids, I'm gonna tell you more. To carry on the music of days gone by, that everlasting memories that'll never die. Yeah. You get together weekly so you can hear music mixed with mayhem. How about a cheer? As I introduce the fellas, then you'll know why they're here. I'm speaking of the Four. Yeah, the Floor. Yeah. Mercy. The founder and the leader is known to one and all. His name is Earl Garber, and he makes all the calls. He is known as the chairman of Four on the Floor. When you hear him play his trumpet, you will ask for more. That's certain. He'll sing a song, he'll play a riff, he'll toot his tooter too. And all of this you'll notice is just for you. Yeah. He used to shoot marbles in days gone by, but now he's lost them all. Yeah, he's just one of the guys. Oh, low down. Yeah. Give me an E. Give me an A. Give me an I. Give me an L. Yeah.
I'm Earl Garber, and I've been interested in and loved my music throughout my life. With the early Castilians, my parents were really objected to my playing, but when the band director at Lincoln said, "Go ahead as long as you're there, we're with us Friday nights for basketball games, take the job." So I started with the Castilians, jobbing throughout Wisconsin. Then on to Ripon College, and I studied with a Dr. Weed, who was out of Eastman, who after 1 year said, "You don't belong here. I want you to transfer to DePaul University in Chicago and study with a man named Reynolds Schulke, who at that time was in the Chicago Symphony." And so then the audition took place. And Dr. Schulke introduced me to Eldon Benge, who built the first professional horn, and that made my life. And I traveled, played with the university, and took a tour with Barnes and Carothers professionally, which kind of ended the music career because I became had a mono case and went home and rested and decided to spend the rest of my life helping the family business. After that, I introduced myself to the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, where there was a local symphony called Central Wisconsin Symphony Orchestra. And with that, in 17 years, we are where we are now, just playing for pleasure and playing with the guys that we put together to take care of our waning years when we really have nothing more to do than just play and enjoy ourselves. Well, take us up to today when about 2.5 years ago, I received a telephone call from the Central Wisconsin Cultural Center manager who said, you're going to love this, but we have a piano player walked in from the city, had moved up here from Chicago. And I drove over to the center and introduced myself and found out he was probably as familiar with Chicago as I was, having grown up there. He grew up there and I grew up in Central Wisconsin, but I had spent 4 years at DePaul in Chicago. So we've had a love affair that continues on. I thought, well, let's get this combo together by calling Kubishak, an old friend and our mutual friend, because we had worked together at Spelt Music, and then knowing that Cecil Leverton was still playing bass fiddle, because I had asked him to come into City Band before Don Cheeseborough, the current director at that time, needed bass. He needed more foundation in the band. And Cecil joined us. So now we have a quartet. We call it Four on the Floor because we're just about as ready to start over as we are in the beginning life. With Four on the Floor, we had to find music, and fortunately, none of the music that I had collected over the years had been thrown out. So I found the old fake books from 1940, 46, 48, 49, and with Pete, we were able to put together a book that enables us to play music from as early as the World War I throughout today's hop and bop and the Dizzy Gillespie series and Charlie Parker. We have music that takes us with current fake books all the way through today's blues and modern jazz and things that audiences today can relate to. So we're playing what we call modern melodies, songs and ballads from throughout our history.
All groups need a drummer. This foursome has the best. His parents named him Francis, but let me tell you the rest. Yeah, I'm going to. His handle now is Koopy, as he's been known for many years. He'll sing for just the asking, but you can give him a beer. He's the only single member of the aforementioned four. If you happen to know a lady, let me give you the score. Do it now. His house could use a clean and cook a meal too. Be sure to bring a dust mop, but the pots are there just for you. Sure. And when you hear the fellas listen to his sound, being simple-minded, no bass drum will be found. No, it won't. Wow! Give me a K, give me a U, give me a B, give me an E. Yeah.
My name is Francis Kubishak, Kubi they call me, and I've been involved in the Four on the Floor since we decided on a title for our quartet, and I was born and raised here in Wisconsin Rapids, and did most of my employment here. I play the drums. Minimal drums, and I'm also one of the vocalists in the group. Yes, I was a milk delivery person, a milkman, and I was walking down the street one day after I did my job, and one of the Speltz boys was driving along, and he stopped me, and he said, "Go on down the store with me." So I went down there with him. He said, "I'd like you to. You've got spare time, come on and work for us. We need somebody in the shop." So I said, "Okay, I'll come and see what's going on." So I went down there and we talked about it, and I could work my own hours, and so that's what I did. And then after a few years of that, and I got to be a pretty darn good repairman, repairing all kinds of instruments, and in fact completely overhauling a lot of them. And then one of the boys decided that he was going to move out to Arizona, and he said, "You'll have to replace me on my school-to-school route." And I knew all the band directors, so it didn't make any difference. So I started doing that, and that's how I ended my career with the Speltz Music Company. I knew Don Halverson for years and years, and played on occasion with him, and then there was a lapse because they had a drummer, and all of a sudden the drummer up and left, and he said, "Well, we got a couple of jobs through the summer. How would you like to finish off the season with us?" And I said, "Fine, I'll be glad to do that, and then that'll be the end of it." Well, it wasn't the end of it, because that started 40 years with Don Halverson and the Castilians. And I don't know how many different instrumentalists we had during the time, but I played drums, Don played piano, very well I might say, and Barney Goggins played the bass fiddle. And so off and on, depending on who was available, we'd have a horn player, and I'd have a hard time going through the list of the different instrumentalists that were in the band, but in 40 years there were quite a few of them. And there's only one guy in this room that had played with Don Halverson at one time, and that's when he was a younger man, and that's Earl Garber, the chairman.
The chairman.
So that was about it, but 40 years of it, yeah, and that ended about 10 years ago. Yeah, when we lost our bass player, Barney, and I said to Don, I said, we maybe ought to find a different one. So we did, but he upped and died before the original bass player passed away. So I said, Don, I think this is an omen. So I said, I think it's time for us to retire. And he says, that's a good idea. But in the meantime, I still felt like working, so I got a job with Jerry's Music in Wausau. And I worked for him up there for 15 years after that. I was sitting home one day and I got a phone call from Earl Garber, and he said, hey, Kubi, there's a new piano player in town, and he's in love with that piano down in the Cultural Center, and he'd like to get something going. Would you be interested in playing the drums? And I said, well, I don't have any drums, but I know where I could get some. But I said, we'll give it a try. So I borrowed a snare drum and a hi-hat and a cymbal and a pair of brushes from my son-in-law, and we started going. And I've enjoyed it very much for the last couple of 3 years. You know, someone said to me not too long ago, how long are you going to keep doing that? And I said, well, music, you know, is part of my life. In fact, most of my life. And I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy what I'm doing now, and I see no reason to quit unless Mother Nature gives me the call. But other than that, I plan on doing this as long as I'm able to walk into the studio. Alone from night to night you'll find me, too weak to break the chains that bind me. I need no shackles to remind me I'm just a prisoner of love. For one command I stand and wait now, from one who's master of my fate now. I can't escape, for it's too late now. I'm just a prisoner of love. What's the good of my caring if someone is sharing those arms with me? Although she has another, I can't love another, for I'm not free. She's in my dreams, awake or sleeping. Upon my knees to her I'm creeping. My very life is in her keeping. I'm just a prisoner of love. Alone from night to night you'll find me, too weak to break the chains that bind me. I need no shackles to remind me I'm just a prisoner of love. For one command I stand and wait now, from one who's master of my fate now. I can't escape, for it's too late now. I'm just a prisoner of love. What's the good of my caring if someone is sharing those arms with me? Although she has another, I can't love another, for I'm not free. She's in my dreams, awake or sleeping. Upon my knees to her I'm creeping. My very life is in her keeping. I'm just a prisoner of love.
And now we have the bass dose played by one you'll want to know. Though most of the time he's laid back, he can steal the show. Oh, yeah. Oh, he can. Among his many talents, the harmonica he blows. There never is an error, no tongue ever gets stuck in the holes. He's that kind of guy. Revelle. Really good. An opportunity to play with the harmonica has came by. At the same time came a letter. You can help your country, guy. Well, guess which one he chose? So our Cecil made a decision to forego money and fame. For 40 years he brought to you your mail without complaint. Snow and all. Oh, Lord.
Thanks, pal, thanks. Yeah.
But he is making up for lost time, and though it's quite a load, if he gets any better, he may even hit the road. We're gonna miss you, pal. Give me a say, give me a E, give me a say, give me an I, give me an L. You.
What a guy.
This is Cecil Everton, and with a name like that, I gotta keep telling everybody about it. But my mother liked that name, so here I am, Cecil Leverton. And I came from the town of McMillan on the farm, most of my time in Rapids, and I've had some musical string bass music, and then I got started playing the harmonica. And I don't really know how, but I get away with it. I fake it a lot. Yeah, in high school we had the swing shifters. Earl Garber knows about that, but he was before me. But we had a pretty good dance band in high school, swing shifters. But after you're out of high school, they kick you out. They won't let you play. So then after, I took a few years off that I didn't play anything. Then I got started playing with polka bands and big bands, and got a hold of a bass. And then, let's see, suddenly Joe Liska, who was our old orchestra director in Rapids at Lincoln, he called and said, how would you like to play in Marshfield Symphony? Well, I said, I would like to, but I don't think I'm capable of it. Well, he said, why don't you try? So I went to Marshfield Wood County Symphony, and I was completely lost and befuddled there for a stretch. I didn't know what I was doing, but for 32 years I finally got to be able to handle it pretty well. And finally, after 32 years, I kind of got tired of driving to Marshfield, and so I quit. Well, then I got suddenly playing in the city band, so I did that 4 or 5 years, I guess it was. I can't even remember. And I'm not too sure about this coming year. I kind of promised myself I think I'm going to quit. And in the whole deal, I got playing harmonica. I played in the Navy. I played a couple of times on the Fantail, which is a show that they put on the ship. And let's see, I played a couple of times for my brother when he was in the TV in Green Bay. I played a little session there, and mostly that kind of thing. And I got, well, let's see, Royal Review, I played harmonica. Since then, I've started playing with this group. I force myself on them, and they allow me to get away with it. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm kind of slowing down on the bass, but it's more physical work carrying a bass than a harmonica. So if anybody ever thinks that I'm going to quit the harmonica, I probably am not going to do that until I can't breathe anymore, and then I'll have to quit doing that. The funny thing about music is that I knew a lot of guys in high school that were in sports. they're mostly all dead, and they haven't played sports in years, and I'm still messing around with music. So it seems to me that when you have something like that, it's a good thing to keep it up. So I guess that's about it.
Nice. Whoops, okay. Okay, well, here's what now we got it. Take these guys here, because see, that's I cranked it up too loud. That's what happens. I want us to hear it.
Is there a right and left?
No, it doesn't make
Yeah,
any
it says
difference.
so.
You're centered, that's all that counts.
It says, hello, hello, where are you? Oh,
Are you there? Can you hear?
ah, go ahead.
Okay, here, I'm gonna run it. Oh, we're doing begin to begin, okay?
have an upstart who now calls rap his home. Piano is his mistress. As a young man, he was prone to play and sing the music that was popular that day. If you found yourself in Chi-Town, you would hear the people say,
Oh, yeah, what?
yes, you would. Pete Revelle is working down at Mike's on Rush Street North. The show is at 11. It will help to have a snort.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Oh, yeah. What's for you, too?
Now you know you have a winner, cause at birth he heard a band. Just look at his fingers, black and white on each hand.
Oh, that's different.
Sure. Through the years he has traveled over land, but not at sea. His papa said, hey son, a piloting piano will never, ever be.
Wow, what an intellect. Woo-hoo.
Whoa, what a guy is power.
Yeah, man. Smart. You tough.
Yeah, give me a P.
Me.
Give me an E. Well, forget it, he's from Chicago.
Oh, no. Too bad.
Hi, I'm Pete Revelle, and I'm the piano player, keyboard player with the Four on the Floor. My history goes back to Chicago. I was born and raised on the west side. Actually, and it was a very ethnic Polish neighborhood, and my first instrument was the accordion. Of course, they say in Chicago, especially on the west side, and on every block there's an accordion in somebody's attic. And the reason for that is, of course, we didn't have piano was not a prominent instrument in our neighborhood. It was, as I say, much more ethnic. And for the first 20 years, I was a accordion player before I switched over to piano. My working history is I began playing professionally just out of high school, and I was fortunate enough to work with some very, very good people. For better or worse, I did a lot of traveling in my younger days, and I guess probably without boasting, one of the most fun times was the time spent in Vegas. I was with a group then called the Pepper Pots, and we had a in and out type of a contract at one of the downtown hotels. From there, I became a single, worked by myself. I worked piano bars within the Chicago area, and again, I was very, very fortunate till somewhere in the early 80s. I was working 5 nights a week. I was able to make a living at it. And then the business has changed so much around the 80s. And of course I was getting a little older, and it was a little tougher to run around. So I became a piano tuner. For 20 years I had a tuning business in Chicago. And from Chicago I went to Arizona, put about 10 years in Arizona. Prescott, actually, is a wonderful city up there, up in the mountains. And 5 years ago, we moved back here to the Midwest and settled here in Wisconsin Rapids. And I must say, I'm pleasantly surprised and happy with the way things have gone. I had quit playing music, actually, kind of put it aside in Arizona, and I thought, I played enough for a lifetime. But when I got back here, when we moved back to Rapids here, I was fortunate enough to run into the fellas. That would be Earl, Kubi, and Cecil, and I kind of got coerced into playing the piano again, and I am at this point having as much fun as I have had in my life. It's a challenge. It can be very exciting, and we have a lot of fun. We play every week at this time anyway. We're at the Cultural Center, and of course it's open to the public. We wish that anybody and everybody would come by, and we're there at this time of year, we're there on Tuesdays. It's just kind of a lot of fun, and once again, I just feel like it gave me a new lease on life. I am enjoying it thoroughly, and I just hope it continues. I am Pete Revelle.
knowing I'm always there and everywhere. I need her anywhere, and if she's beside me, I know I need never care. But to love her is to need her everywhere, knowing that love is to share. Both of us thinking how good it could be, watching her eyes, hoping I'm always there and everywhere, everywhere, here, there and everywhere, here, there and everywhere.
Now there you have the story. Come and hear them one and all. They will play your favorites summer, winter, spring, or fall. They sure will. You've met Wisconsin's treasures. They are full of loaded.
Oh, yeah, I know those guys.
Marcel. Hey, play me a tune. I wanna hear. Let me hear. Yeah. Ha. 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 Ha.
Why do they call them four on the floor? Oh, that's a funny name. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Wow.
Well, gang, I hope you had as much fun watching that as I did. It's been quite some time since I've seen that. It was just as much fun seeing it this time as it was when we first did it. And let me tell you, I hope I got the feeling, and maybe I can convey it to you, that maybe you're just a little wiser now than what you were when you woke up this morning. A bunch of great fellas. We had so much fun together doing music. I hope that you'll kind of stick with us, because as the weeks go by, we'll have more great things for you to watch and listen to. I am Pete Revelle. I think we'll call it a day right now. Keep an eye out for us. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.